Spring, 1945. Europe was no longer the Europe of 1939. Fields once lush and green had become blackened wastelands. Cities that once thrived were now piles of rubble. Rivers that once shimmered with light now reflected only ashes. The war had devoured an entire generation. But amid the roar of artillery and the stench of smoke, there was a growing sense that the end was near. Not the end of conflict, but the end of exhaustion. The Allied forces advanced from the west. The Soviet army pushed in from the east. Between these two immense jaws, the empire that once terrified the world was shrinking by the day. Each night, the skies over Berlin glowed red with fire. Buildings crumbled like sand. Bridges fell. Trains carrying refugees were bombed before they could reach safety. There was nowhere left to hide. In his underground bunker, Adolf Hitler sat pale and hollow-eyed. He still believed the tide could be turned, that his so-called miracle weapons would save Germany. But there were no miracles left. Every map before him was covered in red, the color of the Soviet advance. On April 16, 1945, the Battle of Berlin began. Soviet artillery unleashed over 1 million shells in 10 days. Explosions shook the heavens. Buildings collapsed one after another. The ground itself trembled beneath the weight of war. Civilians fled underground, but even the earth could no longer protect them. Inside the bunker, Adolf Hitler ordered the last remnants of his army to fight to the death. 16 and 17-year-old boys were handed rifles too large for their frail arms. They trembled, waiting for orders they barely understood. If they refused to fight, they would be shot as traitors. On the streets of Berlin, every corner, every staircase, every basement became a battlefield. Soviet soldiers advanced silently, one step at a time, one bullet at a time. They had lost millions of comrades. Now they fought to end it all. By April 27th, the circle was complete. Berlin was encircled. No reinforcements, no supplies. Civilians dug wells in courtyards, boiled potato peels into soup, and shared their last drops of water. On April 30th, 1945, a single gunshot echoed through the Führer's bunker. When the smoke cleared, Hitler was dead, a pistol in his hand, a cyanide capsule beside Eva Braun. Above them, Berlin continued to burn. But somewhere amid the ruins, the war had died with him. On May 8, 1945, Germany surrendered unconditionally. White flags hung from shattered windows. Soldiers dropped their rifles and sat on the streets in silence. Civilians wept, not knowing if their tears were for loss or survival. In London, Paris, and Moscow, church bells rang. People embraced in the rain. A woman looked up at the sky and whispered, "At last, the war in Europe is over." But peace had not yet come. Across the Pacific, the fire was still burning. The Japanese army continued to fight, refusing to surrender, even as defeat loomed inevitable. They saw death as honor, surrender as shame. And so every island became a graveyard. At Iwo Jima, 6,000 Americans and more than 20,000 Japanese perished in 4 weeks. On Mount Suribachi, a group of U.S. Marines raised their flag amid smoke and ruin, a photograph that would become one of the most enduring symbols of the war. But behind that image were countless who never came home. At Okinawa, the final battle before the invasion of Japan, over 200,000 lives were lost, tens of thousands of them civilians. Mothers leapt from cliffs clutching their children.
Young soldiers pulled the pins of grenades rather than be captured. Entire cities were erased. The numbers chilled the world. If the Allies invaded Japan itself, millions more would die. No one wanted that, but Japan would not yield. In that desperate darkness, the United States made a decision that would change humanity forever. On August 6, 1945, a bomber named Enola Gay took off from the island of Tinian. Inside it was a single weapon, Little Boy. At 9:17 a.m., it fell upon Hiroshima. In less than 1 second, a light brighter than the sun split the sky. A fireball nearly 500 meters wide erupted, burning at over 4,000 degrees Celsius. Within 2 kilometers, everything vanished. Houses, cars, people, gone. Those who survived stumbled through the ruins, their skin scorched, their hair aflame. They did not scream or cry, they simply walked, silent, as though their souls had already left their bodies. The city was gone. 3 days later, on August 9th, the second bomb, Fat Man, fell on Nagasaki. Tens of thousands more died. The surrounding mountains burned for 3 days. On August 15th, 1945, Emperor Hirohito spoke to his people for the first time. The war has not proceeded as we desired. We must endure the unendurable. Across the nation, people knelt and wept. Some threw their swords into rivers. Others stared at the sky in silence. No one cheered. No one celebrated. It was the silence of a nation witnessing the end of its world. On September 2nd, 1945, aboard the USS Missouri in Tokyo Bay, Japan signed the documents of surrender. The Second World War was over. A U.S. soldier looked around and whispered, "At last, the world is quiet." But quiet did not mean peace. When the smoke cleared, humanity saw what it had lost. Over 60 million dead, hundreds of millions homeless or broken. Cities like Dresden, Warsaw, Hiroshima, and Tokyo reduced to dust. Forests burned black, rivers choked with the dead. There was no corner of the earth untouched by war. The soldiers who returned were never the same. Many bore wounds for life. Many never spoke again. Some could not live with what they had seen and left the world in silence. A military doctor once said, "I have stitched 1,000 wounds, but there is no thread that can mend the human soul." After the war, trials began. Those responsible for atrocities were brought to justice. At Nuremberg, Nazi leaders were sentenced to death. At Tokyo, Japanese generals were tried for war crimes. But millions of others, the ones who pulled the triggers, who followed the orders, faded into anonymity. Justice came late, and it could never be enough. How could one verdict balance the blood of millions? The map of the world was redrawn, but new borders could not erase the scars within. Former allies, the Soviet Union and the United States, soon turned to suspicion. A new conflict was already forming: the Cold War. Humanity escaped bombs, but not fear. A fear now named nuclear. Nations began building atomic arsenals, all in the name of defense. Children grew up under the shadow of the mushroom cloud. Films, songs, and textbooks repeated the same plea, never again. And yet in humanity's eyes lingered ambition, fear, and memory unhealed. The world after 1945 was new, but haunted. Black and white photographs of Hiroshima hung in museums. Clocks stopped at the moment of detonation. Rows of children's shoes lay behind glass. Letters unsent, never to be read. Each artifact whispered a warning, a voice from the past saying, "Remember us." A veteran standing among the crowd in Tokyo Bay that day looked to the sky. Sunlight pierced the thin haze above the water. He did not cheer, he did not smile. He simply said, "The world has won, but humanity has lost." The war was over, but its echo would never fade. On Europe's hills, green grass grew over old trenches. On Normandy's beaches, white crosses bowed in the wind. In Hiroshima, flowers bloomed again after the radioactive rain. And in the hearts of humankind, a scar remained. The empires of might had fallen, but in their